Jeni, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. I've been following you for years. We've interacted multiple times throughout the years via email, Instagram, all that fun stuff, and it's so awesome to officially meet you. Thank you for joining this
Thank you for
experiment slash
having me.
endeavor.
It's been years, it seems like, and it has
Yeah,
been years. I looked back and was like, oh my, it's been several years. So it is great to officially meet you,
yeah.
not in real life, but in real life on
Virtually.
virtual life. Yeah. So thank you for having
Exactly.
me back. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we had originally interviewed you, I think in 2018, so pre-pandemic even. Um, Tell us a little bit about you. I'll obviously link out your original profile, but share a little bit about you, what you do. I believe you're a director, you're creative, all those good titles. Share a little bit about that, and then also like, what have you done in the last several years?
So I am an artist. I'm based in Los Angeles, California. And I think when we originally were talking, I had a film that was coming out at the time.
That's
I don't think it was
right.
out yet. So the film that I was directing back then in 2018, which by the way feels like 600 years ago, was called or is called Club Rats. It's still
That's right.
online, and the film got released. It went on to play from that moment whenever we did that interview, it went on to play so many festivals. We were really blessed to go to the Chelsea Film Festival in New York.
Mm,
We uh, aired at the LA Shorts Festival. We aired at a lot of different, the Oscar qualifying Shorts Festival here. We
yeah.
aired at so many different festivals. And then we did a fundraiser and we were able to use the film to raise money for RAIN, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. So the film, which at the time was, oh, I directed this short film, it went on to just sort of exceed all of our expectations. And then after and during the pandemic, even we were doing online festivals. So it's had its own legs and life of its own. I think also
Wow.
at that time I was directing a play called Women on the Verge, and it was a one woman solo show that I directed, and that went on to win an NAACP Theater Award. So
Wow.
it's interesting because
Congrats.
I think I did that interview right before sort of all of these things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I went on right before, so it was 2019, that's 2019, that next year. We expanded that play and actually did an ensemble version of it for a sold out run here in LA. And that was supposed to go for a longer, wider run when the pandemic hit and then
Mm,
everything shut down.
right.
Um, and then also at that time or thereabouts after that, I had just released a single called Tofu You, which
Mm.
I think when we did that interview, I didn't quite know what was going on musically with myself. But I released the song, and since then it got licensed for a feature film that I actually started, and so it's in a feature
Really?
film. That song, that little song that I put out that I produced myself. And
Wow.
then also acting wise, I was acting in a play right after that at the Hudson Theater here. And that play, we did like a really nice long run. But unfortunately, during the middle of the second part of the run, we were shut down by the pandemic.
Oh
And,
no.
but I did win an acting award for that play. So
Congrats.
lots of great things have happened. And that's kind of the tip of the, I think that gets me into like 2020 of like,
Yeah.
from then to like the pandemic, and then everything went haywire.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so since we last spoke, all of the projects I was doing then have come to fruition. I also at that
Right.
point was talking about an album, and this year, 2023, last year, I released my first album called GAHALLA, so that's
Congrats.
out on all platforms. So basically, I've been firing on all cylinders in
Yeah.
different directions. But those initial projects that I talked about, I went back and looked at that interview from 2018 because I was trying to think, what was I doing when we last talked 5 or
Right, right,
6
right.
years ago?
Yeah. So what's an event or an experience that you've had over the last few years that was how can I put it? How it was very forming for you because you've done a lot. You're a singer, you're a director, you're an actor. What was something that really helped you? identify who you are as a creative?
That's interesting. So, I've been working in art to some degree since I was a kid, So
Hmm.
I started off as a dancer, and my first job was as a professional dancer. And then I would say after that, I started directing. So I started directing theater, I started, directing film, I started writing theater, writing film. Um, I think what was really interesting to me, I would say in the past several years, was getting, not that I ever lost touch with it, but getting back in touch with the side of me that is a performer. I
Mm,
think so much of my art had become very cerebral up until that point,
mm,
and I had been doing things sort of in my head and on the page and like behind the scenes and just not really being forward facing as an artist, like preferring to hide behind the work.
yeah.
And since 2018, really specifically, putting out music, uh, and especially needing to go perform that music, I've spent a lot of time on stage in the past 5 or 6 years. I've spent a lot of time performing on a microphone as a solo performer. I've been dancing a lot, so I've done a
Mm,
lot of dance concerts. And as an artist, I think being comfortable on stage and in front of people is never really a natural thing. Like, I think there's people that are like naturally funny or, like I'm not one of them, but there's people who are just hilarious, right? Like, there's people who are really funny, the class clown kind of person,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
want that attention, and like they're comfortable when everyone's staring at them. It like feels good to them. I'm not that person. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I am like the most introverted, shy person on planet Earth. So I think like getting back in touch with that performing side for me
yeah,
has kind of helped me in all of the art forms that I practice. Because even something as simple as writing a screenplay and then having to pitch it, right? Like I do a lot of
mm,
writing and then we have to go pitch the project to TV
yeah,
networks or to Netflix or wherever,
yeah,
and you're sitting there and you have, even on Zoom, a lot of it's Zoom pitching and things like that. So being back in touch with that performing side of me, I think has really helped me in all the art forms. And I'm not saying just like as an actor, like
yeah,
as a creator, as a director, being comfortable with people staring at you.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
not natural for me at all.
Right, right. So, knowing what you know now, 6 years later from when we interviewed you before, would you have done anything different? Or what advice would
Mm.
you give your 6 years ago self knowing where you are today?
You know, I think, I think 2020 was kind of one of those years that was just like wildly disappointing and um I would be lying if I didn't say I had moments where I lost faith or
Hmm.
lost faith in like humanity or just kind of
Yeah.
wonder, why am I doing this? Is this worthwhile? And I think if I could go back to myself at any phase, I would just always tell myself it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Um, because I think when you lose faith, um, or you start to face fear or you have doubt, like to me, that means you're not having faith in your higher power or you're not having faith in yourself. And so I think all of us have had our faith tested in the past several years, no matter what
Sure.
you're doing. And if you haven't, congratulations. You have been living under a rock. God bless you. Like life is great for you. I'm happy for you. I'm not one of those people. I'm very much like aware of what's going on in the world. So,
Yeah.
I think I would always just tell myself like you're fine, you're okay, you're going to
Hmm.
be okay. Everything is
Hmm.
going to be okay. And there is a plan. That's
Hmm.
enough. One thing I think I would always go back and tell myself, even little me, 5-year-old me. Like
Hmm.
the dreams are real. The dreams are real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would Can you expand on that a little bit? Like
Yeah.
dreams as in when you were 5, you dreamt to be this performer?
Yeah. When
Yeah.
whatever you have planted in your heart, like those seeds, like the
Yeah.
things that you think about at night, the things that keep you up at night, the things when you're walking by yourself or
Mhm.
sitting by yourself, when you're in like those really quiet moments,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
When you're in those really quiet moments, and they're few and far between these days with social media, with all the information coming at us. When you go sit there and you find that peace and that quiet, what you're dreaming and what you're thinking is real. And
Mhm.
everything that tells you that's not real is not it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I think about back, as a kid growing up, for example, I always imagined or pretended to sing into a hairbrush or
Yeah.
would but if you asked me, I would say I'm not a singer. If you
Yeah.
asked me for decades, I'm not a singer. I don't sing. I'm not good at it. I don't. And here, the past however many years now, I've been performing 2, 3 times a week in front of crowds. I've been rapping
Wow.
in front of crowds. I've performed at South by Southwest. I've performed in Brooklyn.
Wow.
I've performed on huge stages. I performed on an island in LA. Like I've performed everywhere.
Wow.
So that little voice inside me knew what I was gonna do, but the rest of the world and even me, conscious me, didn't ever think that that was like in my future. And
Yeah.
so I think like, when I say that to people, like your dreams are real, like it could sound like the most ridiculous thing,
Mhm.
but why not? Like,
There you go.
you
I
know,
love that.
if you told me as a kid I was going to be rapping in front of a crowd, or I mean, I've opened for some of the most amazing legendary hip hop acts. Like,
Mm.
it blows my mind, being backstage and talking to these people that as a teenager I would go to their shows and I would
Right.
watch their shows, and now I'm going to go on stage, the same stage they're going to go on, or and that to me just blows my mind. I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever. It blows my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. All right, so then 6 years from now, when we interview again, where will you be? What will you be doing? What is the dream? What are your dreams
Mm.
telling you?
It's so funny because it's like it's all surpassed all my dreams at this point, right?
Wow. I
Like
love that.
like
Yeah.
they've all happened. I mean, there
Yeah.
was a moment where even just, I'll give you an example. Last year I performed a dance solo on stage choreographed by one of the like most legendary dance teachers, Hama. He's been one of my mentors and dance teachers for decades now. And
Yeah.
I performed his solo on stage and I was like, I don't even know that this was in my dream of
Right.
like I don't even know that I thought I was like a retired dancer, like I was going to
Yeah.
retire and who wants to watch me perform? I've performed more on stages than. So when I think of like the next 6 years, I think right now my focus is on directing.
Okay.
I'm directing a play that's coming out. I'm directing something I'm acting in later this year. And there are several screenplays and theater and film and TV pieces that I want to focus on as a director. I think
Hmm.
that, directing is something that I love to do. There aren't enough female filmmakers out there. It's
Hmm.
woefully painful to watch things like the Golden Globes or the
I
Oscars or,
know.
not that awards mean everything, but when you watch just like who's being represented, whose stories are
Yep.
being told, what the lens is. I think as a
Yep.
female filmmaker, I have like a dream, but I also have like a responsibility to
Yeah.
use the talents and things that I have to do that. So
Yeah.
I would hope in 6 years that I've directed at least one, because it does take a while, that I've directed at least one, if not more than one feature film. Like that
Okay.
is, I hope in 6 years we're back here talking about a feature film that I directed, or also, and something that I've written. I would love for that to be made, even if I'm not the director. I would love for a female filmmaker to get their hands on one of the stories that I have told on the page and to direct that. And I think, maybe I act in it. Because a lot of times you
Yeah.
don't. you don't know the how, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you don't know the how. So I say that my dream is real and that like I do think I think it's a reality, right?
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
happen eventually. I think 6 years is a good timeline. Hopefully it's hopefully it's less than 6 years, but I'll
I
take
was gonna
six
say,
years.
I feel like 6 years you can get like a good two features in that time frame. At
You
least
think
two,
so?
maybe
Oh,
three, maybe three.
from your mouth to the
Okay.
filmmaking God's ears. I receive that. I receive that.
All right. So as we wrap up, two last questions. Number one, as we're trying to bring this community together of female filmmakers, female storytellers, it's abundantly clear that we have to support each other. We're not getting the help outside. We've got to do it together. Is there something you could give to the community? And it could be something as simple as if somebody reaches out and asks you to follow them on Instagram, or you're willing to give somebody, notes on a script, or whatever, or look at somebody's directing reel. It could be anything. It could be something small. It could be something big. Is there something you're willing to offer the community? And in return, what is it that you would like to ask the community to give to you?
Ooh, that's good. I like that question. Um, I feel like I'm pretty generous with my time and energy, and if someone does reach out to me through proper channels, um, I am happy to answer young filmmakers' questions. I'm happy to give any, specific advice to people. Um, basically, like if anyone's out there watching this, just know that, I am one person. So I'm happy to do what I can, or at least point you in the right direction. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that sometimes giving people, for example, a book is the most helpful thing you can do.
Right.
This book is what I go to. So, like
Mm-hmm.
giving them the resource to have in their hands or something like that. So, if anyone out there's listening and they have questions, you can reach me through proper channels. You can go through my Instagram. You can even like comment on one of my posts and ask me a question, and I will give you the most long-winded answer and then DM you the rest of it. So happy to.
Perfect.
Happy
And then
to.
and then yeah, and then what are you looking to get? And it could be that,
Mm,
I need the funds to make my feature,
I need
or
money.
there you go. There you go. Put it out there.
But
Put it out
here's
there.
the thing is like, I think for me it's like, yeah, I need money to make a feature film, right? I have a beautiful film based on a book set in Patagonia.
Mm,
The film is called Set. It is a lovely, wonderful female forward, female centered movie set in the world of fly fishing. It celebrates the
wow.
outdoors, it celebrates women in nature. It's beautiful. It's written by this lovely novel by Karen Dodson. She's working with me on the film. We have all these pieces together. We have a place to shoot. We need a cast. We need money,
Okay.
and hopefully that comes to fruition. But also, if you don't have those things, if you're someone out there, you know, and you want to read it, offer to read it, or someone who's interested, or someone at a certain company. Um, I think finding female producers and
Hmm.
uh, female producers are so important for these types of projects
Yeah.
because a
Yeah.
lot of men simply don't get it. They read it and they don't get it. And I
Yep.
mean that. I mean, I think there's a lot of great producers out there, but I think working with a team of women is really also on my list of things to do.
Good. Great. Okay, we're putting it out there. We're putting it out to the filmmaker gods and goddesses. Maybe just stick with goddesses. Um, it'll happen. It'll happen. Here we go.
Hope so.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was so fun to officially virtually meet you. Again, I love your stuff, and I'll put all the links to your stuff in the summary and all of that, so that folks can watch your stuff.
Thank you so much for what you do for the whole community. I know this is a labor of love, and I appreciate that you're, trying something new this year and doing it in a new way. So, I really applaud you for being bold and brave and really doing what you can and doing your part to help female filmmakers. So, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.